All right, Clint Cosgrove and Greg Smith, Rivals.com here, trying something new. We're gonna do a little talk about the game, during the game, pregame. But let's just start off with your overall thoughts. I mean, you've been to practice, you've been embedded in this in Lincoln. What are you expecting out of this game from the Nebraska side, Greg?
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of energy, right? I think that one of the things that energy and physicality, I think that those are two things that we've heard a lot about in the preseason and dating back to really spring football and back to when Rule was hired, is wanting to restore energy, pride, and physicality in this program. And I think that you're going to see some of that here today. I personally have told people that I think that this is the perfect opening act for Matt Rule and Tony White, the defensive coordinator, with that new 3-3-5 coming in. I think it's the perfect to see if all of the talk about physicality in the offseason is going to be, actually come to fruition, because they're playing the Gophers, a team that are known for physicality and execution, something that has been lacking around Lincoln for a long time. And so I'm expecting to see more of both of those tonight from Nebraska.
For sure. I mean, from the Minnesota side, this is interesting for me because I've been on both staffs. I was at Nebraska in 2006 under Bill Callahan. I was at Minnesota from 2007 to 2010 under Tim Brewster. And, I know what the environment's going to be like at that stadium tonight. And they're doing the sold out, gold out.
Sold out, gold out.
Stadium. Yeah. Well, at least, it's Huntington Bank Stadium now. But when I started, I was actually part of the first game at University of Minnesota. When we had that, we played Air Force, and it was a crazy environment. That stadium, when full, it's one of those that it's not the biggest stadium in the world, but there's a lot of energy. You can feel it. It's right next to downtown, and it can be a special atmosphere, especially when the Gophers are doing big things. So I'm interested to see how a new Nebraska team under a new head coach walks into a somewhat hostile environment. And, a team that's established. I mean, PJ Fleck has done a great job at Minnesota. They've won 9 games, how many years in a row? He's it's culture first. It's about development. There's not a lot of 4 and 5 stars walking in the door, but what they do have is that culture. They have developed their players. There has been some staff turnover over the years, but there's some talent on that team. Just give us a quick rundown. Yeah,
I was going to say that's actually why this game is such a unique matchup for the kind of culture that Matt Rule is trying to build, because all of the players that Minnesota lost last year, no one's talking about that. It feels like you're not like it doesn't feel like, oh, they've got turnover on the coaching staff, they've got new offensive linemen, they got a new quarterback. Mo Ibrahim, maybe the best running back in program history, is gone. No one's talking about that. Why? Because of what you just mentioned, the culture, right, that is going on under PJ Fleck. You just assume that even though there's not 4 and 5 star guys coming in the door, like you said, they've got guys that have been coached up and are perfect fits for what they want to do on the football field.
For sure. Now, roster-wise, what can we expect from Nebraska? Like I said, you've been at the practices, you've seen the guys. Now, I've seen some of these guys in high school, but I haven't been to the practices like you have recently. Who are some guys that you're looking forward to seeing tonight that you think could make an early impact in this game, and maybe an unsung hero?
Okay, I think the early impact, I think Jeff Sims is where you have to start, the quarterback, the transfer out of Georgia Tech, 6'4", 215, 220. He looks like a linebacker out there playing quarterback as we get kicked off here. And the season for Nebraska and the Matt Rule era is underway. But Jeff Sims is definitely the top of guys you want to see. I'm eager to see Isaac Gifford play in that rover position in Nebraska's new 3-3-5. He's had a great fall camp, become one of the real leaders on this team. And then my wild card that I'll give you Janarin Bonner, a name that people probably, if you haven't been following Nebraska, you do not know that name. He was a 4-star recruit out of Louisiana as a wide receiver. Nebraska's now got him playing kind of an H-back, fullback role. And he's had a really good spring transitioning into that, and then also carry that over to fall camp. So I'm eager to see what he does out there as well.
Well, it looks like Nebraska did their job on the first kickoff. Didn't let him hit a home run. And you mentioned that was something that, Coach Rule had talked about. If they hit that home run right out the gate, he wouldn't be mad. He'd be smiling.
Yeah, because he said he wants it to be it's going to be a 4-quarter game. That's the type of team that he wants to have here in Nebraska eventually, and he'll see if it happens right away, is that they're playing their best football in the 4th quarter. We got a kind of a rude awakening when a reporter asked in his final press conference this week, like, hey, do you want to start fast? Like, how important is it to start fast? And you could see him cringing on the inside. He's like, nah, man, it was the perfect softball for him to get his talking points out about finishing strong and sprinting through the finish line. I think is the exact quote that he said.
For sure. Now, a strong start, yeah, it builds confidence, and I think that's something that Nebraska has lacked in the recent years. Mm-hmm. They've had some talented players walk through the door, but for one reason or another, they haven't been able to put it together. Rule is a master at putting these things together. He's a master of turning things around, and that is one of the things that I'm really interested to see here. Now, the thing with Minnesota is, they lost a lot of production, especially on offense. They're 91st in the nation in returning offensive production. But what people don't realize is guys like, Chris Autumn-Bell, he didn't play last year. He was injured, and he was a dynamic player for them before that. And out of high school, he played down at Bishop Mack, and then he played for Midwest Boom, I think it was, in 7-on-7. He was a guy, and I scouted for Minnesota back then, that I was really high on. I think he's a difference maker. And then you also talk about some of the other guys. I mean, Corey Crooms, he's a guy who played, Bucky Irving, who's now at Oregon, who's a phenomenal back who started out at Minnesota. He was at Hillcrest with him. He went to Western Michigan. Now he's at Minnesota. And, Corey Crooms, I think he could be a difference maker. But the big-time guy for me here is, Brevin Spanford. He's out of St. Cloud. Not necessarily a hotbed for talent, although there is some, there are some players. There are some players up there, but at 6'7", he presents all kinds of matchup nightmares. I'm not sure who that was. Was that him who they just got the ball to on that last play?
No, they threw that first one to him, but they just got Crooms had a big 3rd down conversion as Nebraska brought a little blitz on that Tony White 3-3-5. And that's something I'm really curious to see, right? I think a lot of fans are eager to see this defense and see just where they can bring pressure from, how they can disguise that, if they can confuse a first-time quarterback out here in Karlaftis, and see if they can actually get that going. And maybe they can get Minnesota, not characteristically, they don't turn the ball over a lot, right? But maybe you get a little confusion and you can get them to throw you one early in the season here.
Yeah, Ethan, him coming out of high school, I remember him, also a guy that I used to see at showcases all the time. Big arm talent. Minnesota was like the first to offer him and his brother. His brother was a wide receiver. Yep. And, last year, if Nebraska fans, and I'm sure Minnesota fans remember, Nebraska was up, 10-0 at halftime? Ethan came in.
Yeah, they were up in this game.
And then Ethan came in, and, it changed. I believe it ended up 20-13. In Minnesota's favor after the change was made at quarterback. So, he has experience playing against that Nebraska team, but not this defense. And you mentioned the 3-3-5, and the 3-3-5 to me is, it puts pressure on the quarterback, but it puts pressure on the offensive line more than anything else. And the reason for that being is they have to double read everything. When you stack those defensive linemen over those linebackers, now it does put pressure on the safeties and corners to make plays. But when you stack them, the linemen are double reading everything. Okay. So it's not like your typical 4-3 where you're like, okay, I've got my 2-man box over here. You're literally, sometimes you're reading 3 players because they can come in any direction. They can blitz you from any direction. You don't know where the 4th guy is coming. And then you also can get to any front that you want. And that makes things, incredibly tough as well. So,
and we saw TCU. Nebraska's had a little success here. Like they've gotten them to 3rd down. They just can't get them off the field. And as you were saying about right as you're on cue about the safeties in the corners and the responsibilities that they have, they lost contain there, and then you end up having the quarterback scramble out of there, or scoot out of a pass to pick up that 1st down. But Nebraska, they're okay. They're hanging in there right now. It's just whether or not they can start to get Minnesota off the field on these 3rd downs. They're winning the early downs, but can they convert these on 3rd?
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Both these teams.
Nice play. Malcolm Hartzog with a really nice play on the tackle there. That was nice.
So you're playing in front of me, man.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
No, you got that local broadcast.
Yeah, the signal's coming in a little faster. But Malcolm Hartzog, you talk about recruiting stories that were really fun. A guy that, the previous staff
was nice.
Yeah, the previous staff found him down in Mississippi. They were seeing someone else. And every high school that they went to, or they were going to junior colleges as well, people kept mentioning this Malcolm Hartzog guy, and he wasn't really recruited by anyone. So the previous defensive coordinator, Eric Chenander, went and visited the high school, loved him. They got him up here. He didn't play right away as a freshman last year. He's just going into his second year. Didn't play right away, got on special teams, and then ended up bursting onto the scene and was a starter, and now he's entrenched on the team. Made a really nice play there.
Yeah, he triggered. And that is one of those things that the secondary put, we talked about the pressure, the confusion it presents for an offense, but the pressure that it puts on the secondary. Now, the safeties, they are going to, a lot of the time, they're going to come down. They're going to be maybe an extra rusher. They're going to be a linebacker someplace, but then they got to be a deep field guy on other plays. And, I saw the stat, Minnesota was number 3 in the nation, the 52% on third downs last season. Yeah. And that's kind of what we've seen so far. But Nebraska comes up with a big stop on that third down there. Yep. And I think we saw some of that confusion.
Yeah, that was the confusion. Is exactly what we're saying. Like that, those are the types of things that if especially with a quarterback in the first game, all the the hype at home, the sold out, gold out. Sometimes you get a little fired up, and you're seeing a defense like this that it's really hard to prepare for. PJ Fleck had a great line in the preseason, kind of getting ready for this game, saying that they were preparing for ghost. It felt like at times, because it's just so hard to know what it was that Nebraska was going to do. And on that third down, it definitely looked like there was a little bit of confusion. Nebraska had 3-4 guys in the area. They probably could have picked that one off. And you want to talk about a whole different thing there. But that was a good job getting off the field there.
No, for sure. I mean, they bent, they didn't break, and they got them off the field. Now, Nebraska's first possession. What are we expecting here, Greg?
Yeah, they're all the way down, backed up on the 1 here, so I'm expecting some ground and pound to come out here. But even if they weren't all the way backed up, I'd still be expecting some ground and pound from Nebraska. I think Gabe Ervin, the big, 220, 230-pound running back, has really taken hold of this job, as it was a battle. Remember, Anthony Grant last year was the starting running back and really started off very well. Through the first, I think, 6 weeks of the season, was one of the leading rushers in the entire Big Ten. He's still there, but he's actually now third string behind Gabe Ervin and Ramir Johnson, who has been working primarily as a third down back. And I think you will see him quite a bit, but I expect them to see if this offensive line can get lathered up. I like to look at these things as opportunities. We talk about that, right? Where are you going to look at it as a victim or as an opportunity? You're backed up all the way against your 1. What better way to start your season and say, hey, we're going to be able to move the football on a good defense?
Yeah. And
I made it.
The man, the legend.
I got extension cords everywhere. My backdrop's moving, but I finally made the stream. I don't know what's going on anymore. How's it going, fellas? I finally got the game on. The Wi-Fi's working, so we're back. It's not a Rivals event without something like that,
I mean, that just proves how
without you.
That's true too. First and foremost, that's true. But second off, that just proves how good we are at adapting and adjusting, right? Like you can give yourself an early pat on the back on that.
Absolutely.
Hey, well, you got to overcome adversity, right?
That's right. The adversity being on the 1 to start your season off on offense.
Hey, can't beat it. Now, offensive line, Greg, that was an issue for the Huskers last year.
Yeah,
the one coach. Nice. Yeah, and the one coach who he retained, Donovan Raiola, who I actually played with at Wisconsin. We lived on the same floor in the dorms freshman year. I know he's getting after those offensive linemen day in and day out. What can we expect from this offensive line?
I think you're going to see a unit that takes on the personality of their coach. I think they're going to have fire. They're going to come off the ball a lot better because I think also this scheme, what you mentioned kind of off top, what was really, especially at the time, a controversial move for Matt Rule to keep Donovan Raiola. You should have seen the Insiders board, our message board, when that news kind of came out. I think we were one of the first to put that news out, and they went nuts because everyone assumed that of everyone, he would be the one that would be let go, given how that offensive line looked last year. But what we did not know, and we know this now, is that Matt Rule and Donovan Raiola, the offensive line coach, man, they go together like peas and carrots. Like those guys go together really well. Raiola likes to get after people in the run game and let that off line get into a flow. And Rule kind of believes in that same kind of philosophy. So it works really well for both of them.
Well, you saw that push on that.
We did, but there you go.
They fired off the ball without question.
Yeah, you could definitely see them come off the ball there really nicely. I like that.
So I know I'm behind you, Greg, but
I was waiting on you to see. See, this is me adjusting in real time. I'm waiting on you to see what happened because we talked about this. We talked about it. Jeff Sims being able to use his legs to extend plays, get out of the pocket, and continue to keep drives alive. In these situations, Clinton, you know this, you got to get a couple of first downs to get out of the shadow of your own end zone.
Yeah, and even if, you don't necessarily have to score for this to be a good possession, because Minnesota flipped the field. A lot of people think if you're not scoring points that you're not doing a good job on offense. What they did there is they moved the ball, they converted third downs. They were able to come out, and people talk about, you script your plays coming in. Now, are you trying to score on that first drive? Absolutely. Yeah. You're trying to score. But what you're doing is you're seeing how are they going to line up? How are they going to react to motions? How are they going to do if you come with different personnel? Are they going to try to match? Are they going to keep, what they have on the field? And, so I think the one thing that they did do is they converted the first downs and then they flipped the field. They got Nebraska backed up. So Nebraska's biggest job right here is to not let that flipping of the field affect them and make this a defensive possession that makes an easy score for the offense. Now, they get a little penalty there. I don't know what happens after that, but you talk about the running ability of, of the quarterback from Georgia. Well, there he goes again. Oh,
there it is.
I think I'm way behind you guys. Hang on now.
Uh-oh.
I think I'm getting the replays. I like it though. That's okay.
But you guys he was a runner. He was a runner. I mean, at Georgia Tech,
that was
he ran for 1,000 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, he was their leading rusher the year that Gibbs was still there, and he was their leading rusher who then, transferred to Bama and then is now in the NFL with the Lions, I believe. Kind of a different style, but he was their leading rusher there. So Jeff Sims could definitely run the football. This is something that we thought we would see. And, Clint, you and I talked about this before, and especially with, Lindenberg, Minnesota's big middle linebacker out in this game, as they released that injury report now that the Big Ten has to do before the game. That's the first time we heard about that. But you want to see if Jeff Sims can contribute in that run game. But it's a slippery slope, right? You don't want to see a situation where he's running too much, and that's your only source of a run game. That's been a big sticking point around here for years now. But I remember Adrian Martinez was the only source of running game for Nebraska at all. And then you get him banged up. You really can't push the pile. It ends up being a problem, but you'll take it when you're trying to get out of the shadow of your own end zone.
Well, and with Lindenberg, too, I don't think people realize how big of a bang that is for Minnesota because Sori Marin, who was a guy, a Chicago area guy who I watched coming up, wasn't a big-time recruit, but ended up being a big-time player for Minnesota. So Lindenberg was supposed to come in and take his spot. So you're already replacing big shoes. And then for him to come in and then not be able to play, I'm really interested to see how that works out. And then looks like the noise might have gotten Nebraska there a little shook. The sold out gold out on third down leads to a substitution error. So,
you're right though, man, about that. So about this stadium is that it's not known as one of those big time atmospheres, but at the same time, when it's rolling, it is a really fun place and they really get after you. Yeah, no,
I'll never forget. That's, I coached in a lot of games, but the first game at this stadium against Air Force, it was played at the same time, kind of that golden hour, and the crowd was incredible. And the thing that Minnesota has kind of, what's going on? What do we got, Greg? What do we got?
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a nice hit. Yeah,
but when that place is lit, it is absolutely lit. And the thing that Minnesota has struggled for a long time, I mean, they're an NFL sports team. It's a big city. When the success is there, the stadium's full. But, the second is kind of like I started out at Wisconsin, graduated from Arizona State. That Arizona State stadium would be packed until you lost a game.
Right.
And then as soon as you lost a game, it kind of fizzled out. But when this place is live, it is live. And the crowd gets wild, the students get wild. And it's almost like, I don't want to compare it to it, but Oregon. Anybody who's played in Oregon Stadium or been to a game at Oregon Stadium, not the biggest stadium there is, but the place gets loud. Oh, yeah. It is really enclosed in, and there's a lot of passion among the fans. And I think we've seen that early on. And I think the game has kind of gone to script, kind of what we expected early on.
Some feeling out going on out there with the game, and also not the cleanest game from both sides. You saw a drop, uncharacteristic drop out of Minnesota. You saw kind of a miscommunication on that third down on the Nebraska side. It's not uncharacteristic after last year and kind of the last 5 years. You see the procedure penalty. You see kind of the too many men in the huddle. Some of those issues that have plagued them before, and those are the things that, like, if you want to win a game like this on the road, you're not going to be able to do that stuff consistently and end up winning the game. So that's a little disheartening. You're a Nebraska fan to see that kind of happening early on. But hopefully for them, it's just early jitters. And then also on the Minnesota side, you figure out and make the adjustments. Now, this is where the fun begins, right? Steal that old Star Wars line, is that you kind of see those adjustments that PJ Fleck and his offensive staff are going to make now that they've had a series of this 3-3-5. What's that chess match like now?
Yeah, and you talk about the adjustments, and you have co-offensive coordinators. I believe Harbaugh is the one actually calling the plays. But at the end of the day, I think they keep the identity of PJ Fleck. PJ Fleck was never necessarily an offensive coordinator. He was never necessarily known as that X's and O's guys, but he was the ultimate motivator. He was the ultimate guy who could overcome anything, finds a way to win, wins through culture. They recruit the right players for their system. And I think we're going to see a little bit more of that on this next drive. And one of the things we talk about, there's not a bunch of 4- and 5-star guys walking in the door at Minnesota necessarily. But what they did get is a guy named Quinn Carroll, who was one of those 4- or 5-star guys.
At the exact spot that they would want one.
Who originally from Minnesota. I remember going to his high school at Edina, where I sat down with the head coach. We saw him. He was a massive man coming out of high school. And he chose, I believe, Notre Dame coming out. And ends up back at home, ends up starting. And it'll be interesting to see, how he plays into that, because, you talk about that brand of football that they want to play. They want to instill or impose their will on the defense. And he's the guy with the size. And I remember him having the ability to do so. I don't know what happened at Notre Dame, but he is a guy who has shown promise, and is a guy who's shown he can be that type of player. So I'm interested to see how the offensive line performs on this next possession, because like we saw plays from Crooms. We've got Autumn Bell back, who was dynamic in high school, and Brevin Spanford who knows? I butcher a lot of names. We all know that, but
I was just gonna let you roll with it.
Let him roll. But he's always a threat. Now you see that shift, and they're trying to see how Nebraska adjusts to it. See how they
come through. Yeah. And one of the things too, think about, you're talking about them running the ball and this kind of being their identity. I saw a thing with PJ Fleck. We said, even that year they had 2 NFL draft picks at wide receiver. They ran the ball. They still only threw the ball 38% of the time that year. If they're going to do that year, that they want, this is running the football is the identity of this program, and then hitting you with play action pass after they've loosened you up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a winning combination when you don't have 4- and 5-stars coming through the door. When I was at Wisconsin, we had Lee Evans and Chris Chambers as receivers, both Pro Bowl guys, and we still ran the ball. We still ran the ball like 60-something% of the time. So, big play over the middle. Greg, you saw it first. What did we see there?
Yeah, nice ball, first of all, over the top of the linebacker, but before the safeties. Looks like the safety, John Bullock, or the middle linebacker, John Bullock, on that one. Looked like he got a little confused on the play, and he's a newly started. This is the first time that John Bullock has played on the regular defense in his career at Nebraska. He's been primarily a special teams guy and a defensive back at that. And the Nebraska, we talk about Matt Rule and his formula. One of the things is identifying guys that can move positions. He slid him down a level to linebacker, and he's been a top performer all through camp. But he does not have a lot of game experience, so you would expect to see some of those things for Minnesota to kind of go at him in the passing game.
Yeah, no, I like what you said about moving him down a level. That's something you always talk about in recruiting, because like a lot of times you'll see an undersized guy on the defensive line in high school is absolutely dominant, and you're like, okay, this guy cannot play defensive line at a very high level. He doesn't have the size, but he could be an awesome linebacker. The problem is you never want to move guys backwards. You don't want to take defensive linemen and make them linebackers. You're trying to take corners and safeties, moving them to linebacker. In a perfect world, you got a guy who's a safety in high school, and all of a sudden they're a defensive end rushing the passer come college, because they then have the size plus the athletic ability. Was that Crooms there?
I couldn't tell.
It was,
but it's not bad. You don't want to go backwards there. Really, the only exception to the rule of what you just said, and we all remember him from high school, is Micah Parsons, the only guy that could play defensive end, then go back, then he could play anything he wanted to play. He's really the only example I can think of on top of my head of going that way.
Well, then you're an absolute freak if that's what you're able to do. And when you're talking about, when you're talking about freaks, that's a different category of player. There's always exceptions to the rule, without question. So 3rd and 3, I don't know if the play has happened yet, but if it has, give us your reaction, Greg.
Yeah, Quinn Newsome let the receiver go across his face there on the slant. Easy pitch and catch for Minnesota right there. Bad technique by Q on that one. Who they think they're really high on him, and he was a guy I think as a recruit he was a fine 3-star coming out of Georgia. Another one of those guys though that when you're in a big state like that, you guys know this, like you end up in a situation where there's so much talent that it's hard to get really deep evaluations on all those guys and properly rate them, because you can't move everybody up, and so you have those solid 3-stars that end up, as he did, starting as a true freshman at Nebraska, and he's played his whole career. They think he's a pro, and I think he is too, but you got to be better than that on a key 3rd down.
Yeah, and it was a great route by Daniel Jackson, who was another 3-star, high 3-star, to 5'7" 3-star coming out of high school out of Kansas. But another 3rd down conversion, and that can beat a defense down. And that's something that you look at. Now, the thing that I want to talk about, Greg, so far, have you noticed, and we see the adjustments to the shifts and everything like that, but this is something that Husker fans should be excited about, because have you seen the amount of defensive fronts that they've been able to get into, even though they only have 3 down linemen there?
Yeah, there's a lot happening, and it's something, because one of the things that was talked about a lot during fall ball and dating back to the spring was how confusing the defense was to pick up from the offensive point of view, right? And in that case, when you're going against your own team, you don't know if that's, are they really pretty good? Is the offense just going to struggle? You just don't know until you see it in games. But so far, it just looks like it's confusing, right? And it's very versatile, this defense. You've seen a lot of different looks, a lot of guys with their hands in the dirt, standing up on the edge, pressure coming from all over the place. And Nebraska has been able to affect the quarterback a little bit. He's not just standing back there, but they just haven't been able to get home, because Minnesota does such a nice job of coaching their guys up to get rid of the football quickly.
Yeah, well, on that 2nd down play, I know you're probably on the 3rd down play right now. I'm waiting for it to start, but on that 2nd down play, what you really like there, and it was great technique by I believe it was number 33.
Right.
Oof. Well, he did a great job, because had he not collisioned in the backfield, that tight end, and that's what really made the play there, that would have been a big game. That would have been a 1st down. Now, they did get it on 3rd down again. And then, as a defensive coordinator, you start questioning your 3rd down package. Right. Should we do sub defense? What is going on? Are we getting nervous?
They're just
is there a guy not lining up correctly?
In true Big Ten fashion, Minnesota is ready to sit on this and take it to the end of the quarter as PJ Fleck sprints down the field here, as only PJ does. But that was an interesting quarter, man. Like that was the chess match that we talked about early on. I think we're seeing it play off. Crooms already has 5 catches in the game.
Yeah.
A lot of it underneath. I think it was only 37, 38 yards, but a lot of that stuff underneath, but key catches, right? Like these third down catches. Yep. And like you said, that sort of thing can really add up. If you're Minnesota, you obviously want to keep that going and see if you can keep, chipping away, get them with their heads hanging a little bit. If you're Nebraska, you've got to flip that and make a big play on one of those third downs. And that might be an early key to one of these teams getting some momentum.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we talked about was with both quarterbacks, and we talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on air, but pregame was let's get some confidence instilled in them early. Let's get some easy throws, and they did give Ethan a chance to throw it down the field. But if you see, statistically, 7 of 10. They gave him passes that allowed him to have early success. They gave him high percentage passes. They're trying to do like we saw when number 33, don't remember his name again, but when he collisioned the tight end, that was another high percentage pass that would have been, had the guy not collisioned him, been a first down. Corey, who was number 33 again?
I'll look it up for you. Hang on.
No, it was jabbing right. I got you.
I was going to say, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'll find it in a second, though. I got you.
Jabbing right, another one of those guys, though, that moved down, right? He moved from the third level down to the second to play inside linebacker position. And he's played a little bit of everywhere. He's got great size, like 6'4", 200-plus pounds. He had him when he first came here. Travis Fisher, the then defensive backs coach, actually started him out at cornerback. Everybody was kind of scratching their head at that. But then he ended up quickly moving to safety, and then now down to middle linebacker. As a part of that, Rule and Tony White really want speed on that defense. And so he definitely can bring that to the second level. Also a legacy player. Toby Wright, his dad, was a great defender here in the 90s. And so anytime you have that, he's automatically a fan favorite.
We know the fan favorites. We know the Nebraska history, and we know how much they love their own. He looks pretty rocked up for
he's
middle
a
linebacker.
Big kid. Yeah, he's a big kid. Like, and when you see him, he looks like a kid that should be a linebacker. And that might be a good home for him. And he's going to probably end up seeing a good amount of snaps. We've already seen him here early in the first quarter. Because keep in mind, Nick Henrich, one of Nebraska's typical starting inside linebackers, is hurt, and he's been kind of a mainstay. Was a captain in last year's team. He's injured. I think he had an ankle tweak. Don't think it's going to be long term. But he was ruled out for tonight. We mentioned John Bullock, one of the other inside linebackers, is kind of raw and new to the position. So you'll see some rotation along with Luke Reimer, who's a mainstay in that defense, one of the leading tacklers in program history. And he's going to have his names all over the record books by the time he's done this season.
Hey, Corey.
Yeah.
All right. We go for another quarter?
Do it. You guys are having fun.
Yeah,
I'm just listening talking to you guys football. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
You guys good for it?
You want to do it, Greg?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's do it.
My baby's not crying, as far as I know.
Hey, the baby will really determine what happens here, right?
Yes.
I was gonna say I'm all fired up. PJ was sprinting down the sideline like he always does each quarter, so I'm ready to go. I love seeing PJ's still doing his thing, man.
He's got a thing, and he does it every time, no matter what, right?
I do have to bring up a weird fact. I've seen now 5 captains on the Minnesota offensive side. Like, how many captains are they running now in Minnesota? Is that like a PJ thing where they do like 30 captains? Everyone's their own captain, or I think there's 3 on the offensive line,
the
1 quarterback, like the tight ends. The tight ends.
That would surprise me because he's big on you earn being a captain. Like you don't just become a captain because you're a good player, you do things right on the field, or you're a rah-rah guy. Like, if you're going to be a captain for PJ Fleck, and I don't know what their captain situation is. I don't know if they got him going for every game. They got new guys each game, like you earn it each week. I'm not necessarily sure how they're going about that, but it would surprise me if they
and they're just jumping right into this.
Yeah, well, are you with a little tempo? but you may be a slightly behind.
No, I am, but I see him lining up really quick.
Yeah,
and,
I think that caught Nebraska off guard a little bit. Crooms, though, still in the mix. He's going to lead the nation in catches at this rate. Might not have, but about 400 yards total. But he's piling up the catches.
PPR nightmare.
PPR nightmare. No doubt. Now I'm telling you, Crooms was a dog coming out of high school. He's just a little undersized. I remember him playing for Hillcrest. I remember seeing him in games. He was a catch machine. He ended up at Western Michigan. Now he's at Minnesota. But when you see him coming out with this tempo, and
there's your first adjustment, right?
Yeah, well, they took their time on that first series. Like I said, that they would go around, they would see how to. Oh, that was a great play. Way to stay home. Way to that was a good job.
Isaac Gifford, one of the guys I was interested in seeing. I called him out early in the game, said I was interested to see him out there. Really, he's been a big time leader for this defense over the offseason. That's a nice play.
Yeah, I have a feeling. Minnesota came out. They took their time. They're going to see how they adjusted, and they said, "Okay, we're going to go tempo. We're going to go tempo to start the second quarter. Let's see how they adjust to that then." So it's almost like running a script all over again. And, early success, third down. Greg, you're going to have the call on this, man.
Yeah, the Nebraska keeps it underneath, comes down, sure tackle, get him stopped. Now this is Big Ten football right here, though. Now, come on, man, it's Big Ten football. You know what's about to happen here. I don't need to be ahead to know what's going to happen on this one.
Are they not going to kick it?
I'm going to keep you in suspense.
No, PJ's kicking it.
Hey, Clint, I got to ask you for recruiting question wise. I know you've talked about it in some of your articles. But you mentioned a couple times tonight that smaller, undersized guys that are really good. Every time we seem to have our rivals camps in the Midwest, it always seems that there's always those guys that you're like, watch this guy. They just make highlight play reels, but they're just not very big. They're always 5. Is it just kind of the cycle that we're in with the Midwest, or just there's all these weird slot guys? What's kind of going on in the Midwest, or at least your region, of these kind of shorter guys that take a couple of years to kind of get going in college?
Yeah, I think that's an awesome question, Corey. Because the Midwest it nailed it. The Midwest is known for their size. They're known for linemen, right? So you would think they'd be known for big receivers and such as well. The thing that you didn't have for a long time in the Midwest, and this has been, I remember my dad recruiting, St. Louis and in Chicago way back in the day. I remember guys like Jamar Fletcher, who weren't national recruits, but go on to win the Thorpe Award at Wisconsin. He played quarterback. He was defensive back, but he was a 5'9", 170, 160-pound kid coming out. And I think that it's not necessarily a Midwest thing only. I do think just the game has trended to a speedier game, not necessarily, the old school Big Ten game. And then what has happened is you have seen the integration of 7-on-7. So these kids who maybe would have caught 7 balls at their high school when I played are now, catching 70 balls at 7-on-7 tournaments. The offenses are opening up. You got guys like, you think of Kyan Barry Johnson, right? He's a guy.
Probably one of the best catches we had all year. Easy.
Oh, yeah. He does it over and over again. And he catches everything that comes his way. But 10 years ago, if they're lining up in 21 personnel and he's split out, is he going to be making amazing plays? Is he going to be a high-end recruit? If they didn't have 7-on-7 football, would people see this? If social media wasn't out there, would people know about him? I don't necessarily think so. I've been watching Kyan since he was a freshman. I always knew he was a dude. I questioned myself, as big of a fan as I was of him, would he be a big time recruit? And he's proven to be. He's committed to Wisconsin, but I think that is just kind of the direction football has gone. It's not a Midwest only thing. It's just when you go to the Midwest, you expect to see good linemen, slow skill, and and I'm not saying that Kyan's a burner, but what he is a phenomenal route runner. He's taken advantage of his time on the 7-on-7 circuit. And with the evolution of football, even in the Midwest, they're throwing the ball a lot more. And that's one of those things. Crooms, I think he might have been a boom kid too. He was on that 7-on-7 circuit, and that probably helped him. He also played with some other good players at Hillcrest. That helped him. But at the same time, he ended up at Western Michigan. Now, they did a great job of recruiting guys back in the 2000 early pre-220s at Western Michigan, and obviously with that pipeline, you get them there, and dude's on pace to catch like 300 balls this season.
Yes, he is. It's been interesting too to see this. That 7-on-7 has had such an impact though on skill talent in this region, right? It's really 7-on-7 and kind of that specialized training, because we see it here, like to even drill it down even more locally to here in Nebraska. We see that here, like Nebraska Elite and their 7-on-7, which like Davon Hall and Isaiah McMorris are a part of. The Warren Academy, former Husker Steve Warren, who has a great academy out there that helps develop guys that play all positions, but the skill talent has really come out. And then on the flip side of what Corey was asking about those small guys, we're also seeing a surge in the Midwest of these like hybrid tight ends. Like I feel like every time I look up, we're seeing those guys. So it's either really like small guys that can work the slot and are probably undervalued and end up being productive in college. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got like these 6'4", 6'5" guys that can run really well. And you're seeing those guys all over college football right now coming from the Midwest.
Yeah, guys like Jaden Riddell, going to Georgia. He's a great example of that. Yeah. He was like 205 pounds going into his junior year,
Yeah, that's one of those ones, man. I don't feel like I have a lot of claim to fame on the scouting with the eye. And be like, man, I see this guy and he's going to be awesome. But I'll never forget. I texted you that night. I saw him last year because I was seeing, and this happens a lot of times, right? Well, I always tell people, people are getting into the business, say, what should you do when you get in? Like, go out and see games. You never know what you're going to see. I was out seeing a different guy, seeing a Husker commit, or he's a Husker signee. He's now on the team, Jaden Doss, the other Jaden that plays with Jaden Riddell. And Jaden Riddell was the guy that had like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the game. And I'm like, he's skinny, he's wiry, but you could tell he's got the frame. And I texted Clint that night, and I was like, hey, man, put this guy on the radar. Like, we need to keep an eye out. And now he's committed to Georgia as one of the best tight ends in the country. Like that kid is unreal. Great athleticism.
Yeah. You speak of him, and it was funny because one of the guys that I had on my Coach's Corner podcast last year, they're not allowed to speak publicly about high school players, so I'm not going to, call him out. But as a coach who is in the South, he said for him that Riddell, he's like, I absolutely love that kid. Like, I think he has a chance to be one of the best that I've seen. I don't know if he had just seen him in person, but he's like, if I could choose one tight end that's coming up, that's going to be a stud, not necessarily who they are right now, but who they're going to be. And it was him. And so Georgia fans, they got to be excited about that. But I've heard some whispers that Missouri's making a push, and we got a new law in Missouri with NIL.
Yeah, that is it. That's one that, to me, one of the most fascinating, like, kind of big picture things happening in college football is what's happening in Missouri. And with this new NIL bill, landing the big 5-star defensive end, Williams and Wari, like, can they get more guys? Is Ryan Wingo also going to come with? Like, are there other guys that are going to come as well? Like, can you try to make a push for someone like Jaden Riddell? Like, but then at the backdrop of all of that, it's what's going to happen with their season, right? Like, Drink has been kind of not great there. They've had a rough time in the SEC over the last few years. Like, there's just a lot going on for a program that has not been great recently. To me, I've got a lot of intrigue in seeing what happens with them based on all of the different things that are going on.
Speaking of that, the Missouri fans, I told them if they gave me enough retweets, I had to put a band on the Missouri over, and so I'm not allowed to cheer for teams, but Missouri better win some games this year. Right. Yeah, no, but I am interested to see how their season goes. I mean, they lose a big time receiver who was another smaller, under recruited guy out of Midwest. who's down at God, I'm going blank on his name now, who just transferred to Georgia, another Georgia guy. Hey, Corey, why am I going blank?
I'll find it.
I remember taking a picture with him when he was at Belleville East High School after a boom showcase and sending him out to all of these Power 5 schools being like, this guy is going to be an absolute dude. But he was like 2 inches shorter than me, a little skinny, and he was a safety at the time. Love it. Dominic Lovett.
Dominic Lovett. There you go. Hey, wait till you see this play, Clint. We're talking about the QB run and the design. That was nicely designed. Yeah. Like keeping eye integrity as a coaching buzz phrase on that one for defense is tough. Jeff Sims showing off that running ability once again.
So what you see there on that play, so you saw Minnesota, they were lined up in a 3-down, right? Now that defensive end, he stayed connected. He did a really good job. And it looks like that they were having him play the dive, which would be he'd be the running back guy if the ball was handed off, and then they were having the linebackers scrape over the top as the quarterback defender, and they had a tight end come in and ear hole that scrape guy. So schematically, you got to love what you see there.
That was really well designed
from the Nebraska. Yeah, it was a very well designed play, and the thing about it is Minnesota was sound in the way they were defending it there as well. So if you're able to make plays when the defense is sound in the way they're defending, giving you a new look, Nebraska fans, that gives you something to like. They're trying to scheme it up and they're looking for ways to find, even if a team defends a play correctly, a way to stop it.
Yeah, and it's tough, and they're seeing these next couple of plays. Nebraska, like they just can't get much in the way of like this solid stay on the blocking here to be able to either move a pile consistently without kind of some deception there, or as in terms of that kind of swing pass to Ramir Johnson, you got to have those wide receivers have to be able to stay on blocks. If you're going to run those types of plays successfully, especially in this conference where corners are so good at tackling and shedding blocks, like you've got to be able to hold on to those blocks.
Who's number 6, Corey?
On Nebraska?
No, Minnesota's defense.
Oh, we got some real trickeration now. Oh, sorry, Corey. You guys are
no. Let me know.
Wow, we had Heinrich Harburg, who's the third string quarterback, lines up in kind of an H-back roll, motions across, and catches a pass at the backfield for a nice first down. I would have lost significant money getting that's a quarterback that just made that catch, by the way. When you see him, he looks like a tight end. That's the thing, is he looks like a kid that should be a tight end.
He does, but the way he got up after he fell and almost tripped over his legs, he showed the true quarterback in him right there. But that was a nice play.
Yeah, that was a nice play. It's just showing a little creativity there, something to kind of get things going and get that ball rolling for this offense that's been a little stagnant, but they've got a little bit of a drive going here.
Clint, number 6 on Minnesota's Maverick. I'm going to butcher his last name. It's Baronowski. He's a linebacker.
What high school?
Oh, man. Spruce Creek down in Florida.
They do a nice job of reaching down in Florida sometimes. They do not get now they're not getting, IMG kids or anything like that. But they will go down there and get some kids and then get them in that program, coach them up, and kind of go from there. They do a nice job of that.
For sure.
I got to ask on this drive, I've seen the stats of Jeff Sims and like the offense. It seems like it's the swing passes are Jeff just running constantly. If your rule, are you just trying to go for the points because you are moving the ball well, or are you going to try to maybe like establish maybe more of the passing game to kind of get Jeff more comfortable, or are you just trying to get some points on the board?
Yeah, I think I got to get some points on the board and then kind of move from there, because maybe what you can do then, if you're getting the offense going with Jeff Sims running the football, maybe they overcommit to try and stop that. You can like roll him out, suck the defense up, and then hit him over the top for a little bit of an easier throw. But they're getting nothing in terms of kind of that intermediate or especially the deep balls right now. Everything is underneath and forcing Minnesota to come up and make tackles, which they have so far. But yeah, I want to loosen them up that way a little bit. But I'd be slightly concerned about running him this much, especially in the kind of the power way that they've done on the last couple of runs this drive. It's worked, but you got to be careful with stuff like that because he does have injury history. I don't think he's finished that time at Georgia Tech. I don't think he finished a season healthy or had a season where he did not miss a couple of games. So you definitely want to keep him upright.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think, you're looking at a 3-point game. So you do whatever you can to keep confidence with him. In the past, I think, he's been turnover prone. Now he's also been explosive play prone as well. I mean, you see him as a runner. If I'm watching film, so let's say I'm sitting in the office after this game and Nebraska is my opponent next week. I'm looking at him and I'm saying, I don't want to play.
So you're Deion Sanders right now is what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, geez, I wish. Yeah. I wouldn't be on this broadcast, unfortunately, but I would be retired too. I wouldn't be coaching, that's for sure. But I'm looking at it and he scares me. He scares me as a defensive coach. And if he makes good decisions and he's able to run the ball like that, and I talk about this a lot, but anybody who hasn't watched me or listened to me talk about, I'm told how much I don't know, and there's a lot I don't know, but when you have a quarterback that can run and a quarterback that's big like him, our defenses typically have a one-man advantage, okay? They're 11 versus 10, all right? When you're 11 versus 10, you always have an extra hitter. When you have a quarterback that can run the ball, right? You're no longer 11 on 10. It is 11 on 11. And people are like, okay, you change your run front, or what? No. That changes everything, okay? Ooh. Okay, I thought they were going to go.
I was like, did I miss something cool or what happened?
No, I'm not going to catch that crosshair. That'd have been nice to have. Cool. You gotta have that.
The dramatic pause. We gotta.
Yeah, but so when it's 11 on 11, you're not just changing, your front. It dictates what you play in the secondary, because all of a sudden, if you're playing man coverage, especially either zero coverage or a field safety man coverage, and you don't account for that quarterback, that guy's going to have a heyday on you. Right. So all of a sudden, if you want to be maybe a two-read team, they call it all different times, but basically it's a zone defense where if the inside receiver goes out, the corner's reading number 2 and he's sitting on there almost like a cover 2, but if all 4 go vertical, you're playing man vertical. But you can't really do things like that, because what you have to do is you've got to insert a safety. So all of a sudden you're playing cover 3. You got to play quarters. All of a sudden you're susceptible to 4 verts. Same thing with cover 3. You're susceptible to that. You're having to void zones just to account for that quarterback, and it changes a lot. Oh, is that Tyler Newman?
It was another one of Corey's captains.
Come on, we're on number Tyler 6 Newman. Now. Count it.
He's a really good player. Airmailed that one a little bit. It's a bad recipe. If you ever airmail Billy Kemp, it's probably, I don't know what he's listed as, but he's probably a good 5'8", 5'9". That's not going to work out for you. But the good news is, and this is where Clint, the football coach, and you would say this, right? Maybe you turned it over, but that was almost like a punt, right? Like you get him back there.
We talked about it.
You can take that one. That one, I think that you'll be okay. It goes in the ledger, right? You don't want to see it, but there are worse things that have happened than that one, because they probably were going to have to punt right after that anyway.
Yeah. Now, Tyler Newman, absolute beast in high school. This dude was a dog. Now, he ended up being a 4-star. I think he got some late offers. But he was a 4-star that signed with Minnesota. Actually, his little brother, I can't remember his little brother's name, and this was only like 2 years ago, I thought was a borderline Power 5 offer, definitely a Group of 5 offer. I think he ended up walking on at Minnesota, another one of the Newman brothers. And, just another great player. But Tyler was a guy that I saw probably 20 times in high school. I thought he would be a future pro. I think he's on his way to being a future pro. He's a 2019 grad. So what would that make him? I think he played right away. So what is he, a junior or senior? So he's probably out.
The COVID year throws me off.
I'll just say that's too much math for me.
But the thing is this is a theme though that we have with this team, right? So Clint, like we try all these guys that are making plays, they all have something in common. Like he was a 4-star, but these are still guys that are being developed. And for the most part, are not playing right away, forced into the fire. They're coming into the system, get in the program, get acclimated. When it's your time, and we expect you to just come off and play just like the last guy that just graduated did. It's just kind of how they do things. It's impressive. Like you mentioned, I think it's 3 of the last 4 years, I believe. Minnesota has won 9 games at least in the season. So they've got a real good thing going on up there. It's just nationally, I feel like it's not talked about as much because you have, Ohio State and Michigan kind of pacing the conference, and then Penn State is always in the mix as well. But Minnesota, I think, has the 3rd most wins since Fleck has been there. Like I think that's the 3rd most wins in the conference behind Ohio State and Michigan. He's done a terrific job, and a lot of the stuff that you're seeing so far in this game, I think, is kind of emblematic of that. It's not explosive. But would you look up and you're like, oh, man, I'm in a bad spot against this team?
Well, there's 2 things that I think we need to address here. And Ole Miss being the best team in the country. And it's not even that close. Waves on Swim, shout out to you. Ole Miss is the best team in the country. It's not even that close. Hotty toddy. What's HYDR? I don't know. Does anybody else know?
No.
But shout out to Waves on Swim for the comment. Second thing, Corey, can you look up? Do you have access to PFF? Or any type of scouting service? What is Newman? What is his outlook as a potential NFL prospect? Well, he led the team with 4 interceptions last season. He was a second-team All Big Ten player. See if you can Google. See if the old Google no, don't Google Yahoo. What Tyler Newman is as a potential NFL prospect. See if you find anything.
Does PJ Fleck have little Minnesota M's on his tie? You're about to see this. Like,
of course he does.
Is that a thing? I guess I've never noticed.
Yes, he does.
Okay. Like he is nothing if not consistent, right?
Dude, most consistent guy ever.
That's why I don't think. That's why I'm sorry. That's why when people, there's always this is debate around him. Like, is that an act? Blah blah blah. I'm like, no. I think that it's just so consistent. Like, I just don't think that you can pretend to be that.
It's so consistent that it seems fake, but that's literally him every time I've been around him. Hell yeah, D right. There you go, Waves. Yeah, no, he.
That's part of the song, right? I should have known that. I should have known that. My wife's gonna get me. She's from Mississippi, so the family. She got half. It's half and half too. Half state, half Ole Miss. So we're leaning into the Ole Miss side tonight, I guess.
Yeah, no, he always has that energy. So he actually, when he was at Northern Illinois, he recruited my brother a little bit, and this was before he was a big time coach, and my brother absolutely loved him. Now I know I'm a loud, high energy guy. My brother's not necessarily like me. He's more likable. Oh, look at the little zone read there. But he's got energy, but he's a little quieter. But he absolutely loved PJ as a recruiting coach. And
that's one of the things too. Do you see that, Clint, on the trail? It's like guys they really fall in with PJ right away, or it's kind of okay. I got to keep this guy at a distance, and I think that he's okay with that. Like, I think that if you asked him about that, he would say, I'm totally fine with that because I want guys that are all in and that will come in and row the boat and all of this stuff, right?
Yeah, no, you definitely, you got to be his type of guy, if you're going to do that, but that is what you're going to get. And I think I've heard him say it, if I'm not for everybody, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but he's not going to change who he is. There's definitely questions. Some people love him and some people don't, but that's what makes I guess a lot of people great. A lot of people don't like the people who are doing well or doing things their way and don't kind of fall in to the way things are supposed to be.
I was going to say, you guys should watch 87 here, the tight end, one of the captains, one of the many captains. He last play just did a pass pro and just pancaked the dude right to the ground. Kind of impressive.
He's awesome.
I don't know
blocker.
if it was what the difference.
He's a redshirt senior.
He's
Nick
mashing
Cowra,
dudes.
out of Wyzetta.
My gosh.
Yeah, I don't know what his background is. I just know he went to Wyzetta High School.
He just likes to hit people. That's what that guy is. That's why he's the captain.
Fellow Ginger, I appreciate that. 3-year letterman, redshirt senior. Let's see. First team All-State in high school. Started 9 games at offensive tackle.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense.
Because I'll say that one play was impressive. Like he was like a full pass pro.
The most Minnesota thing ever to have a tight end and pass pro that used to be an offensive tackle is mashing dudes. Yeah,
find a way.
I'm reading his junior season highlights. He caught 1 pass for 16 yards against New Mexico State. Scored his first career touchdown, 6-yard reception at Michigan State. Saw action against Purdue. Competed at Illinois, started at Penn State, played against Rutgers, competed at Nebraska, and blocked for an offense that totaled 300 yards of offense. Played against Northwestern, blocked on an offense that rushed for 4 touchdowns and 302 yards against Northwestern. That seems to be a trend. And saw action against Iowa, competed at Wisconsin, started against Syracuse. So, yeah.
Oh, man, he almost just blew it. He almost just gave up a sack.
We're like singing his praises, and then he gets burned.
I think you're about to see it right now, Clint.
You complete it. You got to. Those are the sacks you got to have.
Well, he's 3-time academic All Big Ten.
Yeah. I'm putting him at fullback. NFL, if I'm in the draft next year.
Is he going to be a little H-back action?
Yeah.
He's motioning across, like ear-holing guys. We might have something to work with there.
Exactly. He's out there. I mean, he's good ball.
He's out there a lot.
Yeah.
He's a program guy, that's for sure. Flex looking at he's looking for those strong, tough, dependable guys. I mean, guys you can rely on.
Like do your job, be low maintenance, and you'll be good to go. Another big third down here.
3-time academic All Big Ten, you're probably doing the right things day in and day out. You're that, or you're a genius.
Absolutely.
Or both. You're like Corey. All right, 3rd and 8. What are we going to see here?
Yeah, you're going to see a bad coverage.
We got 4. Really?
Bad tackling and coverage by Malcolm Hartzog, who we sung his praises earlier.
Good God.
Yeah, that's bad. That's going to – the film study on that one is not going to be good.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I don't know what coverage they were in there. It looked like a quarters look, but they might have been playing man. Oh, geez. So he was reading the quarterback there. He triggered on that out route. Oh, God, sailed it there. A lot of ugliness going on in the last couple plays.
These throws, the throws are not great for Minnesota's quarterback. Like if you can, and this is one of the things that I always find interesting about the Big Ten in general, that if you're on defense, you can present a little pressure and get guys uncomfortable. You've got a decent shot at having these quarterbacks have some ugly stat lines, right?
Well, yeah, and Minnesota's defense. Let's not sleep on them. They were 4th.
Oh no, they've been very good
scoring defense last year. 13.8 per game. One of the things that's very interesting is they did that without generating a ton of pressure. They only had 19 sacks. So
yeah, that's crazy. That's basic defense, fundamental, like that. You actually, as a coach, you probably be pretty happy. Like you want to get more pass rush, right? Everybody wants that, but knowing that your team put up those types of numbers versus those sacks, like you got to be thrilled with your fundamentals, because that means you just do not have a lot of busted plays or issues in that way.
Yeah, I mean, you're not some defensive coordinators, what they want to do is they want to create explosive plays on defense. They're not like, we're not just out here to stop the offense. We're out here to score. Well, you score on defense by absolutely brutalizing a quarterback, forcing turnovers, and sacking guys. And to have those type of numbers without doing that, I mean, you hit it spot on the head, Greg. I mean, they are fundamentally sound. Omar Brown, transfer from Northern Iowa. Yep. I absolutely loved him coming out of high school. He was a beast. I was shocked that he ended up at Northern Iowa. I saw him.
All-American right away as a freshman, right? Out there.
Yeah, dude. I think that was back in my scouting days, and he was one of those guys that I was talking to Power 5 teams, and I'm like, somebody got to offer him. And I don't know if there was an academic issue or what it was, but he's a great kid, great player. And well, he
had a bumpy year last year. He had an injury. Uh-oh. There you go.
That was a long field goal, though.
That was a long field goal.
54?
Yeah, 54-yarder.
They tried it.
Another captain, by the way. Another captain. I just want to point it out.
Wow. Is everybody a captain?
We need to keep track.
I think that's 7.
Have to look
I need the captain count.
How many captains? Yeah, we need a little thing in the bottom right. Captain count. Corey's captain count.
Yeah, I can throw a banner up.
Captain count.
Corey's captain count. That's what we
Corey,
need.
can you find anything about that?
I'll try.
Let's see. Just like maybe are they doing game captains? I don't know. But while he looks that up, Clint, like, does it feel like Nebraska's down by a couple scores here? Because them being in the spot that they are right now, I think you want to be better, but I feel like they're in a decent enough spot given what it feels like they're not doing offensively.
If I'm Nebraska's coaching staff, I'm very happy at the score right now.
Yeah.
They made a couple plays. They bent and they haven't broken on defense, which I think is huge. They give up a lot of third downs.
Yeah.
As a defensive coach,
nothing huge. No big busted plays for third down. They're all right past the sticks. Yeah.
Has there been an explosive play in this game yet? I don't think so.
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
I bet that Sims run is the long play of the game.
It's got to be. It has to be.
What I'm reading is it's a per game captain thing.
Okay. Is there a limit? Is there a limit?
Right. The limit does not exist.
Yeah. It's just first come, first serve.
You just raise your hand in the meeting and you get to be a captain.
Well, maybe if Minnesota wins, I'll see if PJ will come on with me again, and I'll
ask him.
I'll ask about that.
Opening question: what's with the captain
the very
situation?
First thing.
Hey, is there a limit to the amount of captains that we will have? And
he actually would probably give you a great answer about how that ties into the culture.
How many people are on a rowboat? How many people are on a rowboat? How
many oars are there? Yeah,
with the coxswain and the oars and everything like that.
Yeah.
Maybe the kicker was it the coxswain, the person yelling at the front?
Row.
Row.
So did you coach at Ivy League? They have rowing there. So
they did, but I never made it to one of those events. Those were actually like the crazy thing is like
more popular, right?
You coach I mean, like those are the Olympians that you're around.
Yeah.
Like there's Olympic athletes at these Ivy League schools. You're coaching football, which is usually like the big dog of the school of the teams, but then you literally have Olympians like, playing all the other sports. So Ivy League was fun. Hey, I got to give a shout out to and talk about coaching in the Ivy League. You're 10 games, right? You're playing golf while these other like when I was in the Ivy League, when my friends were going into camp, I was sending them pictures from the golf course. One of the perks of coaching at Dartmouth is we got to golf at Hanover Country. I would be sitting there sending them pictures. And I'm like, how's camp today? But you go 10 games, no bye week, no playoffs, which kind of stunk. No matter how good you are, there's no playoffs. Was he down?
I don't think he was.
It does stink until you get a vacation right when season's over, and then you're okay with it.
That's nice. Yeah, everybody wants that.
So I was golfing before them, and I was on vacation before their season was over, so it wasn't too bad.
No, that's not bad at all. It's probably the culture of doing it there versus like a Wisconsin or a Minnesota or Nebraska's got to be just totally different situation. Anthony Grant getting in the game here. This was definitely off pod that we talked about this, Clint, where Anthony Grant, leading rusher last season on the team, was third string on the depth chart to open the season, getting his chance here. We wondered when we'd see him.
He ain't having it.
That was a nice run. That was their best year run of the game.
There you go. He said, "Put me at 3. I'll show you I'm 1." And he's wearing Jordan's number
last year to start the season. Very good.
Greg, have you noticed any freshmen making any appearances yet? I haven't really taken.
I have not seen. I thought that I haven't noticed on defensive. Cam Linhart would have been the first one, defensive lineman number 91. Otherwise, I have not noticed any. Oh, here we go with the I formation and the fullback will be out there.
It wasn't just coach speak
for that. It was not just coach speak. They got the fullback in there. It's back. See if that starts the run game here. But no, I haven't noticed any freshmen yet.
Hey, Greg, how is Bryce Benhart been? Because I remember him in high school. Absolutely loved him. He's a kid out of Minnesota.
Yeah, he's one of 3 guys
Lakeville
from
North, I think. I remember going to see him at the high school.
Yeah. He was a monster in high school, a state champion wrestler as well, even though he's 6'9". He's had a real up and down career. Yeah, that's been part of the issue, right? I think what happened, he played well his freshman year. He played and started a bunch of games at right tackle his freshman year. And then he's kind of regressed since then. I think part of the issue, and this happens sometimes with strength and conditioning, is when you have a guy that size, you sometimes put too much weight on him, and he's already going to have some issues bending at that size. They put too much weight on him. He became really slow-footed, and then I think that hurt him. I wish I had it on hand, but the before and after picture of him last year versus what we saw him this year, they've definitely trimmed him up, and he's moving better out there, and that's going to help him a lot. But he'd be a guy, if I'm making a list of guys that could have like a redemption season, he's going to be way up there on the list for me.
Yeah, well, on that short yardage play before that first down, what you saw how tall he was. I mean, that guy was right underneath him. He was great at the point of attack. So he got, and here he seals him off there. But then you see him on the corner of the screen. He's kind of falling down. So I think he's really good with those first couple of steps. It's just at that height, you've got to have incredible body control to stay engaged against an athletic guy. But
and that's the problem, is that this conference, every week I make this joke to our staff all the time, and inside Nebraska, is that every team in the Big Ten feels like they have these athletic guys off the edge, whatever scheme or system they play. It feels like every team has that guy. Like Minnesota has a guy, you look at Illinois, they always have some dudes. And then that's even when you get to the upper echelon teams, they do as well. And so to play tackle in this league, you have to be able to bend, move your feet, and be able to have that kind of that athleticism to stick with those guys. Otherwise, you're toast week in and week out, because there is no break when it comes to those edge rushers.
Wow, Terry's still there as the manager, the equipment manager, manager.
Oh, that's not the guy that was handing out the dilly bars, is it?
I don't know if he was handing out. Is that tall redhead guy?
Yeah. I think that was that guy.
He was there when I was there. I mean, he's a Nebraska staple. Great guy. Phenomenal.
No. I thought you were talking about the Minnesota guy. I'm thinking of Dilly Bar.
Oh, no. I don't know.
You're talking about Jay Terry. A great guy.
Yeah.
I love Jay Terry. He's been the equipment manager here forever. Yeah, Jay Terry's great.
Wow, he's a staple. He really is. How many coaches has he been through? Good Lord.
Man, at least 4, right?
So anybody watching, if you want the deep dive into these games, we're talking the head equipment manager.
Yeah.
I think it just zoned out the last 30 seconds.
Oh, did we lose you? Do we need to go back to Corey's captain's count?
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey's captain count.
No, I was going to say, our boy Waves on Swim said that Utah looks good even without Cam Rising. Cam Rising, super senior, was going to be out the first game, and they're up 14-3. And if anyone listens to the Mush, me and Gorney and Garcia's podcast on betting, we all bet Florida because of the recent news.
How much did you bet on it?
Well, here in California, which is where I'm from, we're legally not allowed to bet, so I cannot answer that question.
None.
I'm going for pride and high fives. That's what I'm doing.
It's interesting with Florida though. Like, man, they've got to get this game. That schedule is tough, man. Like, they better if they want to get this thing off the ground, they better get this one.
Well, that was my thought. And Utah is an incredibly hard stadium to play at. Those fans are rumbling. I just don't know what the team really looks like. Cam was always the guy, and they have Florida has Graham Mertz, right? So it's like, that's his first game, big environment.
Yeah, right, perennial underachiever at Wisconsin. He came in and
originally from Kansas.
Completed. Yeah, Bishop
Meade.
Yeah, he was a Shawnee kid. Yeah, from Bishop. And I remember seeing him in high school. I'm like, this is the best quarterback Wisconsin will ever have.
Right.
He comes in and literally, he completed like his first 20 passes.
Yeah.
And then I think, he reached legend status like immediately in Madison. And I think he went out and had a good time and thought that, this was going to be easy after that, and then didn't just necessarily live up to the hype. Ended up transferring and winning the job at Florida this year. A very talented kid, but you know what? I'll say this: Kyle Whittingham at Utah, for my money, is potentially the best coach in the country.
Yeah, like pound for pound rating. Yeah, he's given the things like the lack of recruiting base, all of that, that one, he does a great job. You talk about guys that, as Nebraska has kind of cycled through coaches, he's always on the list for people here. Like, fans have always clamored for Kyle Whittingham. He got a little too excited with the arm there after he threw a nice completion. And so Whittingham is a great coach. Also, I think I saw a stat where this is the first time in 1,100 days that Florida has traveled outside of the South to play an away game in non-conference.
For real?
I can kind of see
that. That isn't the place you're trying to do it.
No.
We got a captain.
Another captain. Mark it.
Is it a different one?
Yep.
Corner.
Number 5.
There's at least 3 on defense. There's at least I'm seeing at least 3.
Justin Wally.
Wow, Rule got lucky there.
I know nothing about him.
That was lucky. Did you see that?
Oh, the almost interception.
No. I might be ahead of you guys then.
Now you're back ahead.
How did that happen? You were like 10 minutes behind.
I refreshed.
Hit the refresh.
Yeah.
Did the generator turn on?
Yeah, close. It was about to be there here. It was close. Did you guys see the formation and the timeout?
Yeah, they got that was.
So I'm at the timeout right now.
Good heads up by the staff there.
Okay, what's Corey's captain count at? There's Fadone.
I think I'm at 8. I think we're at.
Wow.
I think we're at 5.
I wonder if they had in the game notes who are the captains for this, because it was funny because Nebraska was going to do the same thing. The Rule was asked about it, not the same thing with half the team was captains, but they were going to do game week captains. Each week there'd be different captains.
Great mustache for the Minnesota water boy.
Shout out.
Our digital content extraordinaire was just in that shot. Jessica Coburn, shout out to him.
There you go.
Let's
go. Got taken out by Jeff Sims. Almost taken out.
How many rushing yards? So
81, 120 total.
120 total, 80 rushing. Man, if you could,
I'm telling you, man.
You hit for a nice. It doesn't. Dangerous. I told you, Clint, he looks well built. As long as he's not taking dead on big shots. Dead on big shots. He's a dangerous weapon in the run game.
He has 39 yards passing, 81 rushing. Now, people think of him only as being a rusher, especially those who are seeing him for the first time, but he passed for 4,400 yards and 30 touchdowns at Georgia Tech in 23 games.
They got to get.
Was he one of the first quarterbacks after they got rid of the triple option? I think he was.
I was asking that to Greg earlier today.
Yeah, I think he was.
Was he a triple guy? Or?
I believe that's when I don't think he's there anymore. The coach, he replaced
Jeff Coach.
Yes.
Paul Johnson. All
right. So what do you do here? What do you do here, guys? Second and goal. We got less than 20 seconds. One timeout.
Who got the ball? Who gets the ball in the second half? I was late.
Nebraska does.
Oh man,
they kicked off, right?
Oh no, procedure penalty.
No, the flag. I think they went too quick. Yeah. Oh, that's tough. That would have been a huge play for them. So now what do you do?
That would have been you got 8 seconds left. You got one
timeout.
Timeout. Right?
Yeah, you got the timeout.
So do you try running it again with the quarterback
let's
here?
See. They're gonna. I want to see this replay. Like who? Oh, Piper.
Oh man.
Yeah, they got him.
Yeah,
and actually maybe Corcoran too.
Cowboy collar, baby. Wanted to jump. Wanted to smash someone. Yeah. Couldn't wait.
I'll start.
Couldn't wait.
He only got 5 yards. I am finding a way to run the quarterback here because I have the timeout.
I'm doing some sort of on the edge. Like I want to get outside here, fake a dive, get to the edge, and see what.
I don't care if it's a zone read, QB power, whatever it is. That's what I'm doing here. You're 2nd and goal. Oh, they don't have a timeout now. That changes.
Oh, they just called it to that changes things, but it is 2nd. So you could try to throw it and then throw it away quick.
Now you
got to throw it. You got to throw it.
I'm moving the pocket. And I'm going to try to give him a chance to use his legs to score, but also giving him the option to throw the ball if there's a guy open, or if you need to stop the clock. Then you can get out of there with at least 3 points. Or you go quick game. You still have an extra down. I don't know. I'm moving the pocket here, hoping he makes a good decision. If you can get the end zone, you let him take it. If not, you probably kick the field goal, hope for an incomplete pass. But I'm moving the pocket here. Whether it's bootleg, naked, waggle,
what does Marcus Satterfield do?
If you have a timeout, I'm running design QB run, but without the timeout,
if they had if there was a timeout, I'd just run design. We got an official review for something because we're watching on mute, but like my captions aren't on. What's the official review for?
They get their timeout back.
Is it just where the ball's going to be?
Oh, the play.
Oh,
but that was the play before. I guess. Well, does the false start play count? Because it was stopped dead because they're reviewing if Irvin was in, but his elbow's down.
Save the ball across the plane.
Yeah, see if the ball.
But the false start.
Does that play not? I think he's down.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
If the ref is in the way on that one.
Yeah.
Move.
Move, ref.
See his knee. I think his back knee. And from that angle, the elbow's down. But where's the sideline shot? And how are they reviewing it after a play? So wait, that timeout was to review this. Then there wouldn't be a penalty. I'm very confused right now.
Yeah, I'm super confused on how that. Oh, that's bang bang with the elbow. Like but I can't tell if the knee is down though. But the elbow. I think that. Well, no, the knee is up.
What's Dean Blandino saying?
We got our first Dean Blandino. We got in the command center here.
By the way, another captain, number 27. Just want to point that out in that replay.
Well, why didn't he captainly stop that? What is going on here?
Oh, I'm ahead. I'll let you guys see.
Okay, so what happened? Okay. No, just tell me.
He's short. That's basically.
He's short.
They're resetting the play clock to 11 seconds now.
Okay, so do they have the timeout?
So they better get up there. Yeah, but so then they have the timeout if they it looks like they don't. No, they don't. They got 3 seconds back. The game clock is up to 11 at the play clock. So that
changes things actually. But here's the bottom line.
Then I'm gonna
you can't get tackled. You can't get tackled. I'm moving the pocket still. Or throwing.
Okay, we're still gonna.
Another captain. Get ready.
Captains everywhere. I'm gonna tendency break and throw a slant here. This is why I'm not a football coach, and I talk about.
You want Tyler Newman to break on it and go 90 yards the other way?
No, I don't. We got a little bunch. Oh, I do think, wow! Oh, wow!
What happened?
Oh, wow! What an incredibly bad throw.
Hey, at least they got another play then.
No.
Interception.
No. He's behind. He didn't see that.
Wait, I haven't seen this.
Oh, I was like, what?
That's bad.
Wait, is it Newman?
Who's number 2?
I can't see the jersey yet.
No, it's Trayvon Jones.
No, he's a good player, but not a captain.
Hey,
I was just saying,
not to stir up any controversy, but had they moved the pocket and given him an option to run it or throw it away, I mean,
that's a really bad.
What?
You gotta either you don't need to throw that in there. You could have. That was a forced pass. You could have just sailed out of the end zone. That's a bad decision.
I love the bunch formation. I love the bunch.
Yeah, I really like that, but don't like to throw it off.
But the guy's been running the ball all game, and he's throwing it off his back foot. I don't know.
That was a weird call.
Hey, I'm not
like it also needed to be but
they know a lot more about what's going into it. But
yeah. The only thing is I wonder, did they
run?
I assume they told, hey, if the first read's not there, just tuck it and go. Like that was stand.
I think he had one read.
Throw up the back foot. Yeah, like maybe that corner route was the only read, but he didn't put enough. He didn't get it back there.
Yeah, I don't know. I moved the pocket. Give a guy who's been proven to be the only guy who's making plays, and he's making them with his feet. You get a chance to get another play if it doesn't go right. You can throw the ball away. He can run it into the end zone. I don't know. That's interesting. Well, that wraps it. Thanks for the family members of ours that tuned in and
waves.
I'm just in waves. No,
appreciate you.
This was a lot of fun. Waves, yeah, love it. Waves. Shoot me your Twitter. I'm going to follow you. I appreciate you for coming on. Lane Kiffin is the best coach in the country. But Whittingham is pretty good.
Yeah, this was good. We'll tune it up. Hopefully my Wi-Fi will work so we can start it on time. But we'll just wrap it up. Well, please follow everyone on all platforms. That's Clint Cosgrove, Greg Smith. I'm Corey Gibson. This was Game Night with Rivals. Week 1, baby. Thanks, guys.
Week 1, baby. Thank you.